I remember that day like it was yesterday. It was the last Friday during Ramadan. The atmosphere around me was different from every other day of the year. Everywhere I looked, people were focused on prayer, fasting, and devotion. The streets were quieter during the day, the mosques were full. Families were preparing for the evening meal that would break the fast. From the outside, everything looked normal. I was participating in the same routine everyone else was following. But inside my heart, something was different. For many years, I had followed the traditions I grew up with. I fasted during Ramadan. I prayed the daily prayers, tried to do everything expected of me. Yet deep inside, there was a quiet struggle that I rarely spoke about. I was searching for peace, searching for truth, searching for a deeper connection with God. That last Friday during Ramadan began like many others. I woke up early in the morning before sunrise to eat the meal before the fast began. People in my house were moving quietly, preparing food and water before the day of fasting started. But even as I sat there eating, my mind was not focused on the meal. My mind was filled with questions that had been growing in my heart for a long time. I remember thinking to myself, God, if you are real, if you truly want people to know you, show me the truth. I had never prayed a prayer like that before. For most of my life, prayer had been something I repeated from memory, words I had learned long ago. That this prayer was different. This prayer came from my heart. After the morning meal ended, the fasting day began. Hours passed slowly. The sun rose higher in the sky, and the heat of the day grew stronger. People around me continued their normal routines. Some were reading religious texts. Others were preparing for the Friday prayers that would take place later. But inside me, something felt unsettled. It felt like my heart was standing at a crossroads. Part of me wanted to continue living the life I had always known. But another part of me felt drawn towards something I did not fully understand yet. As the day continued, I kept remembering the words I had read before in the Bible. Words about Jesus. Words about forgiveness. Words about love and grace. Those words had been living in my mind for weeks. And on that last Friday during Ramadan, they felt more powerful than ever. Later that afternoon, people began preparing for the Friday prayer. It is a very important prayer day. Everyone dressed carefully. People walked toward the mosque with seriousness and respect. I walked with them. From the outside, I looked like everyone else. But inside, my heart was carrying a heavy question. As the prayer began and voices filled the mosque, I tried to focus. But my thoughts kept returning to one thing. Truth. I kept asking myself, what if the truth about God is closer than I ever realized? That question stayed in my heart the entire time. When the prayer ended and people began leaving, I felt an unusual silence inside me. It was not the silence of confusion. It was the silence of realization. That evening, as the sun began to set and people prepared to break their fast, I went somewhere quiet. I wanted to be alone. The sky was slowly changing colors as the day was ending. And there, in that quiet place, I spoke honestly to God again. I said, God, I have been searching for you. I don't want tradition. I don't want confusion. I want truth. Then I said something that changed my life forever. I said, Jesus, if you truly are the way to God, show me. It was a simple prayer, but it came from the deepest place in my heart. In that moment, something happened inside me that I cannot fully explain with words. It was like a weight lifted from my heart. For the first time in my life, I felt a deep peace that I had never experienced before. It was not loud or dramatic. It was powerful. It felt like the presence of God was closer than I had ever imagined. And in that moment, I understood something clearly. My search for truth had led me to Jesus. The road ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges, misunderstandings, and sacrifices. But one thing became certain. I had discovered a relationship with God that felt real. Not based on fear, not based only on tradition, but based on faith, grace, and love. Today, when I look back on that last Friday during Ramadan, I realized something important. Sometimes the most important moments in life happen quietly. A simple prayer, a sincere search, a heart willing to seek truth. Those small moments can change a life forever. And if you are watching this video right now, maybe you are also searching. Maybe you have questions in your heart. Maybe you are wondering if God truly sees you, hears you, and cares about your life. I want to tell you something from my own experience. God hears sincere prayers. And sometimes, when you search for truth with your whole heart, you may discover something greater than you ever expected. That evening, after I prayed that simple prayer, I did not move for a long time. The sky had already become dark. In the distance, I could hear families celebrating the end of the fasting day. Plates were being prepared. The aromas of home-cooked meals filled the air. It was a time of tumigade. Children were laughing, and the smell of food was filling the air as people broke their fast after a long day. But I remained where I was, sitting quietly, thinking about what had just happened inside my heart. For many years, Ramadan had always been a time of intense devotion for me. I fasted carefully from dawn until sunset. I performed my prayers faithfully. I recited verses I had memorized since childhood. During those days, I often remembered a verse that many people repeated during Ramadan. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. In English, it means, in the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Praise be to Allah, Lord of all worlds. Those words were familiar to me. I had spoken them many times in prayer. But on that last Friday of Ramadan, something felt different inside me. For the first time, I was asking a deeper question. If God is truly the most merciful, how can I know Him personally? That question kept echoing in my mind. I remembered another verse I had heard many times growing up. From Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 186. When my servants ask you concerning me, indeed I am near. Those words suddenly felt very personal. If God is near, why did I feel like I had been searching for Him my whole life? That thought made me close my eyes again. The night air was calm and quiet around me. And for the first time in my life, I spoke honestly to God without repeating memorized words. I simply spoke from my heart. God, I want to know you. Not just through tradition, not just through what others say, I want to know the truth. As I prayed those words, memories from my life began appearing in my mind. I remembered being a child learning prayers. I remembered standing beside my family during Ramadan nights, listening to long recitations during Tarawih prayers. I remembered the sense of belonging those moments gave me. But I also remembered the questions that quietly lived inside me. Questions I had never dared to ask. Questions about forgiveness. Questions about grace. Questions about whether God truly knew me personally. That night, those questions felt closer to being answered. Something inside me was beginning to change. It felt like my heart was opening to something new, something deeper. For weeks before that moment, I had secretly been reading about Jesus. At first, I did it out of curiosity. But the more I read, the more something in those words touched my heart. Jesus spoke about loving your enemies. He spoke about forgiving those who hurt you. He spoke about a relationship with God that was personal, close, and full of grace. Those teachings were unlike anything I had ever experienced before. And now, on the last Friday of Ramadan, those words were returning to my mind again. I sat there quietly, reflecting on everything. I thought about my life. I thought about my faith. I thought about the journey that had brought me to that moment. And slowly, I began to realize something important. My search for God had not been meaningless. Every question, every doubt, every moment of curiosity had been part of a journey that was leading me somewhere. Leading me to truth. Tears began to fill my eyes as I realized how deeply I had been searching. For years, I thought my questions meant something was wrong with me. But now I understood something different. Sometimes questions are not a sign of weakness. Sometimes they are the beginning of discovering truth. That realization filled my heart with emotion. I whispered another prayer quietly. God, guide me. Show me the right path. In Arabic, I whispered the words I had known for years. Ihdina siratul mustaqim. Guide us to the straight path. But now those words carried a deeper meaning for me. I truly wanted guidance. Not just tradition, not just repetition. I wanted truth. As the night continued, something inside me felt lighter than it had ever felt before. It was as if the burden of searching alone had been lifted. For the first time, I felt that God was listening to the deepest cry of my heart. And that moment marked the beginning of a transformation I could never have imagined. The last Friday of Ramadan became the turning point of my life. The day my search for God began to lead me toward a relationship with Jesus. I did not yet understand everything. I did not know how my family or my community would react. I did not know what the future would hold. But one thing had become clear. My heart had begun a journey that I could no longer ignore. A journey toward truth. A journey toward faith. A journey that would eventually change my life forever. Thank you for watching. And if this testimony touched your heart, please subscribe to Bait Studio for more real stories of faith,